waiting for the people who are attending this webinar to come in. And perhaps I can start with some words of welcome. Welcome to this series of webinar of 2 webinars we are having on Belarus. But in general, these are the first webinars we are having on Eastern Europe. And we plan to have several other webinars on Eastern Europe, former Soviet Union, all these areas that are in crisis right now. And we are going to make analysis of what is happening from a women feminist perspective. So this first webinar is going to be around one politician, Olga Karach, and we are going to have somebody who is presenting her and also helping us to moderate. Very welcome, Olga, and please start with the presentation. This is going to be recorded, but we don't know yet if it's going to be published or it's going to be edited for security reasons. Thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. And I should say also, this is an arrangement organizing of GADIP in Sweden and our network Wide Clues in Europe. So please welcome, Olga.
Yeah, thank you very much, Edma. And my name is Olga Karach. I am from Belarus, and here I am representative of 2 organizations, the Women's Center Adliga. We are focusing for women's rights and help women, political prisoners and their families, and much more common, our house, human rights organization, which is focusing for children in prison and some kind of general human rights. Thank you for the possibility to talk about women's struggle and women's rights, because now I am very, very angry because on one hand we have many attention to Belarus. On another hand, it's really sad that still women and our struggle, especially everything what is connected, the feministic agenda, is an unbelievable shadow zone. And today I would like to speak about invisible repressions against women, because still we have the problem that human rights community in Belarus, I respect everybody from my colleagues, but they have very typical standard for the victim of repressions. This is privileged and very well educated men from Minsk, and of course it's not many attention to women from rural area and women from regions and women with children and women LGBT, because they're not like typical victim of repressions. And I would like to speak about some kind of very gender-based repressions against women in Belarus, and to make some kind of conclusions what we can do with such kind of situation, and which kind of key of success we should choose to achieve democracy and human rights in Belarus at least. So I prepare the presentation. Can I ask to share the do you see? Yeah. So I would like to speak about the topic how women and feminists in Belarus became enemies of the state. And as you see, actually, this is the photos from the protest actions in Belarus. I don't know of authors, unfortunately, but it's very famous and it was distributed everywhere. So I would like to excuse me because I cannot mention the names of the photographs. But I would like to speak about general statistics of repressed women activists in Belarus since August 9, 2020. As you understand, the repressions are continued now, and even the repressions are increasing. So now, if we speak about administrative prosecution, women were imprisoned about 17,000 days only in administrative cases. You could imagine this is huge number. Also, women have to pay fines, as you see, about 700,000 euros. We speak only about the women whom we, as human rights defenders, know, and you could say that the price for the struggle for women's rights in Belarus is quite high for women activists and feminists. It's very important to say that many women were punished several times in different ways and different types of pressure and repressions. And a number of women who is involved in criminal proceeding is 342 persons, including forced emplacement of the ethnic minority. I speak about Polish ethnic minority, 3 women, 1 woman who was dead from the biological terrorism, by my opinion, because she was infected with the COVID-19 in prison. She didn't get enough medical treatment, and she was dead. So she was very active in the protests. I would like to speak also about torture and inhuman treatment of women in pre-trial detention center in prisons. It's unbelievable, horrible conditions. It's even inhuman conditions for women prisoners. For example, they have to listen the speech of Lukashenko 24 hours per day, very, very noisy. It's impossible to sleep, and they cannot turn off. It's very cold. Women have the possibility to go to shower only once per week. It's not always, and at the same time, it's many problems with hygiene and sanitary pads and many other things. Also, it's very important to raise up the question of forced labor and even slavery for women prisoners, because they have to work very hard without any working contracts, and mostly they have the salary something about 15 euro cents per month, and the maximum salary which I saw from the women political prisoners, it was 15 euro per month, and again, without medical treatment, without any rest, and by my opinion, this is modern slavery. And I know that is a topic is not very known in Europe, but we should speak about forced labor of women political prisoners and prisoners at all in Belarus. Also, you should know that women political prisoners have to have special labor, and this is yellow labor. They are marked as political prisoners. So every woman who was punished as journalist or feminist or activist under the criminal proceedings, they have to have special yellow symbol here. So it's unbelievable how it's possible in 21st century. I already spoke a little about failure to provide medical care and lack of hygiene things, and it's very important. Even I would like to tell you one story. My colleague, she's documentary moving producer. She was imprisoned for 60 days in administrative case, not even in criminal case. At first day of her imprisonment, the guy from the colony, he was running to the room with the chlorine and put the chlorine everywhere, including her clothes. And he says that it's some kind of prevention of the COVID-19. And after, all parcels to her and her colleagues in the prison room were cancelled. So she was sitting without any food, without any new clothes, without any hygiene, etc. during 2 months. Before, she had unbelievable and very nice red hair, but after 2 months, she was absolutely grown. You could imagine what is happens with women who is imprisoned much longer and in criminal cases. Also, we should speak about very specific repressions against women, mostly in women, not against men, imprisonment in psychiatric hospitals. So still we have the problem that many women, especially rural women human rights defenders, who is imprisoned not even to prison but to psychiatric hospital, and it's many deprivation in different ways, and also the Lukashenko regime is using special medicine against them, and organize some kind of additional torture, like for example for women it's forbidden to go to toilet since 9 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock a.m. Because in psychiatric hospitals the toilet is outside. So they have to go out and they have to knock, and usually the administration of the hospital doesn't react for such kind of signals. Also, as I already spoke a little, nobody knows that Lukashenko regime has a practice to deportation and forced emplacement. Several foreign women, mostly from Russia, they were immediately deported after the protest and lost their homes because they have the permanent allowment to live in Belarus, but everything was cancelled, and so and now they cannot return back. Also, we have the forced deportation of 3 female activists from Polish ethnic minority, citizens of Belarus, and Lukashenko regime took them to the Belarusian Polish border without documents and anything, and they have to go through the border, but again without possibility to return back. Also, it's very important to speak about the pressure for women activists via children. As we know now, every woman protester who is very active in Belarus reports about the pressure for her through children, if she has the children, of course. And even the official state bodies agreed that this is very famous procedure against women protesters. And for example, prosecutors admitted that they held so-called explanatory talks with more than 400 women and children. And of course, the main stress that if the woman should be continue to be active, sorry, my dog is to be active, she will lose her children, and very often her children are kidnapped, and her has very specific pressure at schools and kindergartens. And now we have many cases when even women have to run and to leave the country only because it was the one possibility to save children home and to fight against any kidnapping. And also, if you speak about what is happens and why Lukashenko is fighting so hard with women, especially, and he's trying to use different type of repressions, you should understand one very simple reason. This is the ideological struggle between old patriarchal hold and women who is feminist and activist and who is not agree to live under old role models. Even I would like to remember that in Belarus still we have 186 professions forbidden for women, and even in such small things, the state, the Belarusian regime is trying to control and discipline women. in family, in work, in any protest actions, and of course the main enemy for Lukashenko is feministic ideology. And by my opinion, now very often we call the Belarusian revolution as women's revolution. Of course, men always participate, but when we speak about the women revolution in Belarus, it's very, very typical, like our struggle against domestic violence. The same role models and sometimes the same reaction of the Lukashenko regime, including harassment, including bullying, including gaslighting of women, and many other very typical tools of men abusers. And even Lukashenko spoke publicly that he would like to recognize feminism as an extremist ideology. I strongly believe that he will do it. And by my opinion, the struggle for women's rights and the active promotion of a feminist agenda in Belarus becomes the main key of success to achieve democracy and return Belarus back to the democratical way. And because this is some kind of indicator to check, even if we have many men in a position who can speak that he is democratical, but if he speaks against LGBT rights, women's rights, it's very clear that it's only worse. So we need to act, we need to be much more active now, because unfortunately in Ukraine we have a war, and unfortunately Belarusian regime is co-partner of Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin in such kind of war. But at the same time, we think and we see how women of Belarus, they don't want to step back, and they would like to continue the struggle. And even we started the campaign, no means no, but maybe I will tell later about the campaign. So now I am very, very open to your questions and to speak maybe in more details and answer. Yeah, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Olga. Perhaps you, good.
All quotas are from Belarus, so it's not from Ukraine. Even last quote, I like it a lot because you can see a very confusing man in military uniform. Women in Belarus, we are struggling with open face. We are struggling with our shining eyes, and we are not afraid, but they're afraid us much more than we are them.
Thank you. Thank you, Olga. Perhaps you can close your presentation so we can come back to the... Yes, thank you very much. Do we have some questions already? So we are waiting for some questions from the public. You can put them in the chat or in questions and answer. Yes. There is this first question. Has the narrative of feminists as an extremist ideology become stronger in the past years?
Yes, since it's true. The narrative of feminism as an extremist ideology becomes stronger in the past years, because before Lukashenko was some kind of, how to say, sex symbol of Belarusian men for many women. They really didn't understand the difference between... Снежок, что такое? Что такое? Иди сюда. Иди, тихо. Sorry, my dog. Just a moment, just a moment.
Just a small break.
Yeah, I'm here, sorry. I would like to give you the example why Lukashenko is so angry, but I'm so proud of Belarusian women. In Belarus... Тихо, тихо. Снежок. Just a moment, yeah. Sorry, he's very happy that I'm home. I would like to give you one very excellent example why Lukashenko is so angry. In Belarus, we have state competition of the beauty. And this is very important competition for Lukashenko. And of course, he is the chief of the jury. And every year, yes, unbelievable. Every year, it's the question, why I'm so angry? Because it's very, very typical for such kind of dictatorship, but at the same time, nobody discuss. And Lukashenko has to use some kind of, I don't want to say wife, but the Miss of Belarus, and the young woman has to follow for him during 1 year for all parties, official presentations, any trips, etc., etc. Next year, he should choose the next one. And of course, before it was very popular because it was some kind of social elevator for young women from rural area, from poor families. And of course, it was many women who would like to be a part of the competition, beauty competition, and to be the Miss of Belarus. But after the protest, 2020, Lukashenko was so angry because nobody went to the competition at 2021. Nobody went, and Lukashenko had no anyone to choose. So it was only 2 or 3 women from the whole Belarus, and other women ignored him at all. And even we had additional pressure for young, beautiful women at universities because the teachers pressured them to participate in the beauty competition. But the main affair for the women was, and what should I do if I could be a winner? So he was not able to organize real competition, and he was not able to choose somebody. And of course, for me, it's very important that it's not only connected to young and very well-educated women from Minsk, for example, but it's very connected to the struggle for women's rights. It's connected also to women elders or women with disabilities. Women really don't want to listen to Lukashenko, and they don't want to give the power to the hands. Before, I listened many times. Again, I'm very angry for such kind of sentence, like very good, very active a woman with very, very strong leadership. She is going to do something or ask something, and she always repeat, I don't want to be a leader. I would like to solve any problem, and after I will leave the sphere, etc. It was very typical. Now, many women who is going to us, they say, no, we cannot share our responsibility with anybody. We would like to manage our life ourselves. This has changed since August 2020. And by my opinion, this is very important. And we have to explain and we have to promote the feministic agenda to the women. They're ready to listen. Because, for example, for last year, our social networks and YouTube channels and programs, of course, we explain what is feminism and social injustice for women, etc., the problems of women prisoners, many questions. So we achieved more than 13 million views, and about 60% of the users are women. Before, it was only 25%. Now about 60%. And of course, this is huge audience. I'm very happy that now women are looking for information. Women are following for women, not for the men. And of course, we should use such kind of window of opportunity and we should be much more active with the feministic agenda, because it's many examples where women have such kind of injustice, even if we compare the situation with men, in salary, in work, in social sphere, in education, etc., etc. And by my opinion, Lukashenko has the reason to be very angry, because before, for him, it was enough to be like, oh, I am strong man, please follow him for me. But now women say, no, 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 we don't want. And he really doesn't understand how to return situation back. But it's impossible. I strongly believe that it's impossible after the torture, after such kind of response of the Belarusian regime for the female protest, and for everything what was happens, it's impossible.
Thank you, Olga. There was another question that I think that you have already answered, because it was about if you see that society is becoming more pro-feminist, and you said that it has increased. And somebody else wants to know, do you feel any difference in repression since the war in Ukraine, or nothing much different to before?
It's very interesting question, because we have only 15 days of the war, but at the same time, I feel much more, not repressions, but much more frustrations of Belarusian women, and we have to do something with that. Because now Belarus is recognized as a country aggressor from the Lukashenko activities. And again, it's very typical for abuse system. Who is responsible for that? In public opinion, even in EU, the responsibility for Lukashenko's activity is Belarusian women's responsibility. So for last 2 weeks, many women who has to leave Belarus from the political reasons, from the repressions, they report about a huge number of xenophobia against them. Because even if they go to shops or anywhere, they say, oh, you're a woman from Belarus? No, it's rejected to buy something. It's forbidden to buy something. If they're looking for the job, the same. Oh, you're Belarusian? Sorry, no. Any other educational rights for students, women students from Belarus, the same. You know, visa rejection, many different ways. So the same problem. Lukashenko and his men in the military ministry and other enforces. Who is enforces? They're men. You know, but I don't know why, again, everything turned out, and it's very strange to listen that we are, as women of Belarus, we are responsible for Lukashenko. We are fighting against him. We think that Putin and Lukashenko are our main enemies as very typical patriarchal dictators, but at the same time, it's huge wave of xenophobia against Belarusian women in Europe, not even in Belarus, but in Europe.
Mm. I suppose it's the same as for Russians outside.
Yeah, yes, of course, yes. We should say that we are in the same boat with Russian women who left country. But if you speak about Russians, maybe many of them left Russia by economical reasons. But if you speak about Belarusian women, of course, 90% of them had to leave Belarus by political reasons. So now the women are very frustrated, and women are really depressed because they really don't, they cannot understand how it happens. So we are fighting, and now we are responsible for the guys. But by my opinion, this is typical if we speak from the our point of view as feminists. And also, yeah, and also now we need new fresh air for Belarusian feminists to raise up, because yeah, they have many frustrations from the situation.
There are several other questions, but first a comment that says, I believe the link that Olga is describing between anti-feminism and Lukashenko's ideology and political action is very important, not conceptually taken into account often. Same with Putin's ideology.
Yeah, and of course, Lukashenko is using women, and very often he's using women like, how to say, free and unpaid workers to solve many social and economical problems, especially in rural area where we haven't enough social infrastructure, etc. So everything what is solved in Belarus now, it's solved by women's hands, and very often unpaid women's hands. Now he understands the situation has changed, and he understands that, but again, it's unbelievable, but Lukashenko, the society is very changed. For example, before, even 20 years before, or 25 years before, I would like to speak about myself, for example. Any man who is following for me and have any kind of bullying and not harassment, but it's some kind of like to meet everywhere, you know, to sing songs under the balcony, write any signatures near my house, any kind of like, Olga, I love you, and something like that. 25 years ago, I would say that I should think that it's very romantic. Now many women say no, it's not romantic, and because they see how Lukashenko is following for the Belarusian women and how he's trying to get our love in political sense, but at any way. And women don't want to give the love under such kind of violent pressure and brutal repressions. But he really didn't understand, because he's the man of this very old type of mentality. But he's very anti-feminist, and even it was very his very famous sentence. He said publicly 2 times. He said publicly. First time he said that a woman in Belarus cannot be a president because women don't wear trousers. Nobody didn't understand the connection between trousers and presidency, but anyway, he sees that it's very important. And of course, women in Belarus wear trousers at any group. Yeah, it's very often, it's very comfortable. And second, his sentence was at June 2020. He says that in our constitution, women and men are not equal. It's true. And the equality will never done. Will be never done at all. Maybe after, I don't know, 100 years in future, but not now. And many women, especially women from entrepreneurship, very well educated in Minsk and with very high social status, they reacted. Because you have to do so many unpaid social work. You try to solve so many problems. You develop your own business. You help many people, etc. But at any way, it doesn't matter. You are not equal because you're a woman. So of course, many women remember 2 sentences, and if Lukashenko is trying to say something, we remember, and trousers and constitutions.
Okay, we have another question. How would you describe the public awareness of propaganda techniques used in Belarus? What are the similarities and differences compared to Russian propaganda?
It's a very interesting question, because actually it's a huge propaganda attack. I would like to say, for example, I am the second one in Belarusian TV After Lukashenko, only for 2021, it was 147 TV programs against me. It's almost every 2 days, it's new TV propaganda. Even on TV, people don't explain who is Olga Karach. I could imagine people don't know, but they even don't express it. You see Olga Karach, like, and which main topics of the critics from the Belarusian state TV. I'm feminist. I participated in LGBT pride in Berlin, so of course I would like to destroy traditional family in Belarus. It's unbelievable, and hate men, of course, it's very typical for Belarusian feminist. And even the main propagandist Grigory Azarenok, he published my photo and wrote on my face on the photo "devil." Like, and put his photo near. I have the screen. It's really funny. So this is the devil and he's angel. But so it's very stupid, and it's many. They strongly believe, and if they speak about my age, I'm okay with my age. I'm 43. But they say, "Oh, she's too old, you see," or try to make any ugly photo and say, "Oh, she's not beauty." And so they even don't understand that it's not connected to me. So, but of course, in patriarchal mentality or ideology, you have to be beauty, you have to be forever young, and they try to use such kind of stupid narrative. And of course, it's really funny. And of course, not only me, but my colleagues, of course, we would like to make revolution and change Lukashenko. It's also the crime. But if we speak about, to compare with Russian propaganda, in Russia, we have much more military romanticization. This is a problem. In Belarus too, but in Belarus, about 60,000 people who went through the torture and the enclosed institutions, and of course for people it's not so effective. Russia is much more huge country, and they are using much more narratives as fascist, Nazi, and we have to fight with a vote because against us. It's also very typical for Russian and Belarusian culture. If you speak about men, they have very strange believing you should start the struggle, and after something should be solved or developed. So even it's not enough to think before the struggle, you should only to have the start. So this is very typical, and in Russia this is. But in Belarus, Belarus has the first place. Especially before the COVID-19 era, Belarus has had a first place among the number of Schengen visas. So we are very lucky because many Belarusians visited Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Estonia, so many countries around, and of course they know the life inside, and so they in Russia of course not, and many people have never been in European countries, and of course they see the picture only from TV, and it's much more affected. And if they speak about horrible, actually the main narrative in Russian propaganda, the Ukrainians started the war first, not Russians, but Ukrainians attacked Russia, and they try to have the war in the Russian territory. So Russia just has to have the response, and this is unbelievable. And secondly, of course, this is the military romanticization. By my opinion, we should use our social platforms and networks to fight against this, because by my opinion, this is main threat. The military romantics, when we have to fight, we have to have war, blah blah blah, because many people who it's very easy to have war. You have white, you have black. Everything is very easy. It's not about hypotheek, any responsibility for family, etc. So, of course, for many young men, it's they were playing in computer games, etc., and they really didn't understand the reality, in my opinion. So they started to understand the reality only in the Ukrainian territory, but it's too late, as you understand. So, but Lukashenko is trying. He's not so active in the military romanticization, but he's trying to explain how everybody is bad except him. Even Angela Merkel, do you know, the former Chancellor of Germany, she she made the mistake. She says that she admires of Belarusian women and the brave Belarusian women. And Lukashenko recognized her as terrorist immediately. And he said publicly that she would like to organize some terroristical attacks on the territory of Belarus because she's retired. She has many free time now. So you could imagine we have to listen such kind of absurd speech. And even Lukashenko 3 years ago, Lukashenko promised publicly that Minsk, our capital, the capital of Belarus, will be next capital of United States of America. But Lukashenko is very kind of person. He will not annex to make annexation of America. So they will be involved or will be added to Belarusian territory. And so, and of course, yeah, when we listen, I strongly believe that if Lukashenko should be stand-upper, it should be much better for everyone in Belarus. He should be much popular because he's speaking so stupid things sometimes, but people believe it. Some people believe it because if you're watching only Lukashenko and have no any kind of other information, yeah, it's affected.
We have more questions. Thank you so much, Olga, for these insights. Could you please tell a bit more about how the Belarusian feminist movement is organized?
It's a very interesting question because before the Belarusian Revolution, it was two parts of Belarusian feminist movement. First part was who was concentrated for the struggle with the domestic violence, and by my opinion, this is very important struggle. And second one, as we are, we were concentrated for the public violence against women, because for us it was very important to protect women who is active in social and political sense. And before we all not believed, but yeah, it was some kind of believing that it's separately. After the revolution 2020, everybody understood this is different faces of the same case, and domestic violence and public violence against women. So it should be connected at all. So of course, now I don't want to say that we are very well organized and united. Still, we have to increase our capacity, and we need help to increase the capacity from the international women's community. And also why it's not so well organized, because now many women have to run to different countries. And of course, if you are working inside Belarus, it's much easier to be connected if we compare with now. If somebody is in Vilnius, somebody in Georgia, somebody in the United States, somebody somewhere, and of course, people and women have to survive. Women have to have some kind of integration and adoption, and now it's much more, yeah, as I told you, many women are really depressed and frustrated because many of them, and me too, we had many hopes that Lukashenko will leave soon. So we really didn't expect that our struggle should be much longer than 1 to 3 months. Now we have more than 1 year and a half, and you could imagine that for many women, it's like, and the life is totally changed. So before is the revolution and after. And for many women, it's very important to say that it's totally destroyed. Because I would like to say, as organization, as my team, we are helping the victims of repressions and mostly women. We have to speak about gender specifics of women refugees and men refugees. If man is trying to go out from Belarus, he has passport, he has money, nothing more. If a woman is trying to run from Belarus, why we have so many women political prisoners now? She has babies, she has relatives, elder relatives, she has pets. It's very typical. So this is like real truck. You have to live with somebody. And of course, very often it's financial question. When the woman is trying to organize running from the Belarus, very often it's too late. So she's in a database. For her, it's forbidden to leave Belarus. So she has to live through forest illegally. And of course, this is so many bureaucratic questions and almost no support. For example, in Lithuania, we have many political support. We have many Lithuanians who support us in some kind of moral sense. But at the same time, if you're a woman, you're running through the forest, you have to ask the status of political refugee. And you have to wait the response and the decision during 6 months minimum, now even more. And during the 6 months, the whole financial support which you received from Lithuanian government, this is 20 euro per month. It's absolutely not enough even for transport. And of course, in this end, it's forbidden to work legally. So we had the advocacy campaign, and we pressure to Lithuanian politicians to organize the allowment work for the people, for the women in the status of seeking of political asylum. But and they promised to do it, but still it's not solved. And you could imagine in these situations, the women have to work illegally. Because otherwise they cannot survive, and especially with children. I don't know why we have unbelievable number of women with many children, 3, 4, 5. I'm shocked. Even I didn't know that we have so many women with many children in Belarus at all. But this is it's not the question of hundreds of such kind of women, but thousands in every country. And of course, other very important thing or situation, what you should know, if you're a man and you are running from the country, your woman and family will follow for you, maybe not at the moment, but at any way, and support. But if you are a woman, very often men leave in Belarus and make divorce. Even if you are a political prisoner, if you are a man, you're a hero, and your family will fight for you and will fight to release you. But if you're a woman, very often men are asking the divorce. Even for famous political prisoners in Belarus, women political prisoners. And very often women have no any support inside country, outside country, and of course, it's not the topic what is interesting at all. If we speak about political prisoners, everybody knows the names of famous men political prisoners. If we speak about women political prisoners or children, we have 9 children political prisoners. Nobody knows the names. And by my opinion, this is something wrong. Because the women, they're imprisoned for their fight and for their struggle. And for many of them, of the women, this is first time when they say no to something, to injustice, to the bloody regime, to the human relationship with the state bodies and many other things. First time to say no. And this is unbelievable bloody response. And nobody, not nobody, it's impossible to say nobody. but the solidarity is much less to women. And why I'm here? Because I would like to have much more international attention to the problems and repressions against women prisoners, women political refugees, and everything what is connected to the struggle of women, Belarusian women for our rights, because still we have many things what to change and what to do, even after Lukashenko regime too. It's very clear now.
Thank you, Olga. And another question. Thank you so much for these valuable insights. I wanted to ask, what can feminists around the world do to support feminists in Belarus?
We need support, your support in different ways. First of all, we need, unfortunately, I have to say about it, we need the informational support, because I strongly believe that for you, even today, it's many new information, what is happens in Belarus with women, and sometimes we feel some kind of, how to say, I feel like in glass. I try to, or even on TV, when I'm trying to cry, but somebody turn off the loud. So I'm trying to speak, but very often we feel that it's not any attention or support. Of course, I understand now we have the war in Ukraine, and it's unbelievable situation. This is, of course, Ukraine needs the help. It's very clear, but at the same time, it's very clear that Ukraine can win only when Belarus will win, and opposite. Ukraine will win and Belarus will win too. So we are like twins now in our struggle. They have real war, we have hybrid war, but the same enemies and the same crazy madman who is doing such kind of things in Belarus, in Russia, in Ukraine too. Everybody from you, I'm quite aware, saw and watch a brave woman on Russian TV yesterday who was with the slogan, "No war." I would like to keep your attention. She was a woman. How many men working in the TV, but only woman who will stand up with such kind of paper, "No war." And the same situation in Belarus. Now, the chief of the Independent Trade Union in Novopolsk, she is imprisoned for 60 days in administrative case for the same paper, because she went to the street with the same paper, "No war." 60 days of prison. Nobody knows about her story, because she is from Novopolsk, she is a rural area, she is worker, she is not like privileged, very well-educated woman from Minsk, etc. And of course, this is a problem. I would like to raise up such kind of stories. Who knows that in Belarus we have the cases when mother and daughter are imprisoned together for the participation in the protest, or the oldest woman prisoner, political prisoner, is about 70 years old. So this is unbelievable stories, but at the same time nobody knows about. Secondly, what I need from you, we have to break isolation and some kind of and sometimes some kind of self-isolation, because we as women, Belarusian women, we have the same experience of torture, pressure, etc., etc., and sometimes it's very easy to be in box. Do you understand what I mean? When we have our own environment, we don't want to go out, because women are so traumatic, and it's not enough to organize psychological help, because as I notice, many women who is under the traumas, if you have light traumas, if it's possible to say about light, in this case, they understand in their mind that something is wrong with phobias, etc. But if you are very big affected, very huge affected by the torture and repressions, especially rapes, because we have rapes in prisons and rapes during the detention by enforcers, by the sticks. So of course, in this situation for women, it's much more complicated to ask any help, and even not psychological help, but even moral help. Even in Belarusian diaspora in Vilnius, we already have 3 cases of suicide. It was not successful, but 2 of them women's suicide. So because because from the trauma, all the women and all the people who is trying to commit suicide, of course, they were very, very active in the protest. So this is, we need some kind of intercultural conversation and communication. And I feel isolation of feminist movement of Belarus, sometimes self-isolation, I would like to say, from our side, but we really need to be integrated to the international feminist society, feminist community, because for women, as I noticed, if they understand that the problems are the same in European countries, in Belarus, in Russia, in Ukraine, of course, the level of torture or pressure of any kind of reaction is totally different. For example, in the EU countries, of course, nobody tortured women, but the typical models of reactions for feminist activity are quite similar in different countries. And of course, for women from Belarus, it's very important to understand that this is not like unique situation from Lukashenko, but this is because we have horrible patriarchal world, and the patriarchal world would like to keep the control and to discipline women and to lose their choice and their voices too. Because this is struggle, for me, this is struggle between old and new world, and old mentality and new mentality, and some kind of, sometimes even the struggle between men and women in some kind of case, because women are asking more power, and some men really don't want to give the power. So this is very important for Belarusian women to understand the whole picture at all, not like puzzles, but to collect the puzzles together. Also, we would like to, of course, we need financial support. It's important to say too, because many women are emotionally burned out, and many women, for example, if a woman is running from Belarus, of course, she needs, as I told you, she needs much more resources with children, relatives, cats, I don't know, something else. And of course, very often, especially if you speak about rural human rights defenders, they have no money. And I would like to say, I'm very grateful to UAF, Urgent Action Fund for Women Human Rights Defenders. They help us to save some women human rights defenders because they reacted fast, and we can save them from the imprisonment. And this is sometimes it's very, very important if we have such kind of possibility to support women to leave country, or to support women in their struggle inside country too. So by my opinion, this is very important. And now we need synergy of women inside Belarus, synergy of women outside. So because we have many active women inside Belarus. They cannot show faces, but at the same time they can be hands and legs and to do something. At the same time, women outside Belarus, they can be legs and hands, but at the same time they can be speakers. So we should bring such kind of reach, and of course to have some kind of empowerment of the feministic movement in Belarus and outside Belarus. Yeah, and of course we need political lobbying too, as I understand, because not many European politicians are feminists. It's true too. And sometimes, of course, we really need to keep women's rights in the center. As I told you, I strongly believe this is the key. This is the key, the struggle for women's rights. I try to be short.
Yes, yes, because we have less than half an hour left. Another question, I think you have answered, but perhaps you want to add something else. How and whether the strategy of Belarusian feminists has changed in connection with Putin's aggression in Ukraine?
I try to be short, but yes, we changed our strategy a little bit. I would like to steal the Lukashenko's army because we, since 1st of March, we started the campaign No means no, not only for Belarusian women, but to Belarusian men, to say no and reject their participation in the war in Ukraine. And Lukashenko planned to have the mass mobilization of Belarusian men between 4th of March to 9th of March, and still he cannot do it because it's very strong resistance. We say that the real heroism for real men is non-participation in the war from the Putin side. And we try to change the stereotypes, because if you speak about deserters and men who doesn't want to go to the army, of course, I already spoke about military romanticization. Of course, for the men, it's really hard to say no, because it means that you are like not real men, etc., etc. But by my opinion, this is very good opportunity to promote a feministic agenda through men's audience, because since 1st of March, we produced some video with the explanation that the real men can say no for the participation in the war in Ukraine from the Putin side. And the audience of our informational materials now is more than 1.5 million users. So it was like huge. And many reaction, because this is a struggle with another struggle with gender stereotypes. If Lukashenko has now the soldiers to participate in the war, if Putin has now the soldiers to participate in the war, how they can continue the war? They cannot, even if they have many military equipment and money, I don't know, everything. But the people's power is really a very powerful tool. And of course, in this situation, we started the campaign. We still have to do many bureaucratic work, because if you speak about that the man doesn't participate in the war, how the man should be survived, you know, and so where he can live, under which status, etc., etc. Even we spoke with the Ukrainians. If they have Belarusian surrenders, we are ready to take the surrenders to our hands, women's hands. But of course, our main message to Belarusian men: you have the same right to say no as the Belarusian women if you don't like to participate in the war, and you should do it, and you have to do it, because I'm quite sure that nobody would like to participate in the war. From Putin's side, it's crazy.
Thank you. And another question: how is your personal situation as an active feminist?
Oh, many attacks, many threats of murder, many. Yeah, as I told you, propaganda attack, etc. But I don't want to have bodyguards. I think that Lukashenko should be afraid from us and our activities, and not we cannot follow. Yeah, I understand that it sounds like very fatalistic, but at the same time, I think that we cannot follow for his requirements, because he would like to block us, he would like to discipline us, he would like to shut up us in our struggle, but no, we don't step back at all, and we continue the pressure, even yeah, with such kind of threats, many threats, yeah, and some of them are very serious, but not only through social networks, but personal threats. But I strongly, yeah, Lukashenko think recognized me as terrorist twice and extremist 5 times, and even I proposed him publicly to think about some kind of additional definition, because if he will recognize me 6 times extremist, you know, it's not so interesting even to media, too much numbers. But I think that at any way, I know that we will win, because Lukashenko, he's trying to be in our reality, but he is just our history. Do you understand what I mean? So this is only the question of time, with me or somebody else who will finish the story. And I strongly believe that many women in Belarus, I meet so many unbelievable women who gives me so many inspiration to continue the struggle. So it's impossible to stop women at all. I believe it, even under any pressure.
Yes, another question is, in that in patriarchal society, motherhood is not a choice due to gender-based violence, lack of sexual education, and access to contraception?
Yes, it's very, we have very typical patriarchal dictatorship. Abortions are not forbidden in Belarus. Maybe this is only one thing from good moments. But of course, this is huge propaganda of the motherhood. For example, Lukashenko told publicly that every thought baby is his, but at the same time, no support to the mothers. It's very typical for the dictatorship at all. So if you have no babies, the state is pressuring you to have babies. But if you have babies, it's your responsibility. Nobody can. Until the baby is not female, but male baby, and he is 18 years old and he's soldier. In this situation, of course, the state bodies remember about your son. And of course, this is still many gender stereotypes. If you have no babies, you are not like again a real woman. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah, or a lot of ageism towards young women and old women. Young women, because people think that they have no experience, etc. But many young women have much more experience than men. And also to old women, because people think that they have no sense to live or something like that. So they're not beauty, they're not young, and it's a lot of, even as I told you, this is a lot of expectation of objectivation of women. Even if you're activist, you have to be like always beauty, fresh, and like model. But I'm very happy that the situation started to be changed. Before, for example, when we made the video, we received many strange comments like, oh, this is t-shirt is okay. This is makeup, maybe it's not okay for you. You know, it's a lot of comments about face, about body, etc. Now, people even asking, I received many comments like, don't have any makeup, etc., because we have to listen you. We don't want to think about your how it looks, etc. So, by my opinion, we have many changes in the mind than before. Before, it was very clear that if you would like to be listened, you should be very beauty and young, otherwise not. So strange, but it was our reality, it was our history.
Good, thank you. I have a question myself. Do you have, as a group, any kind of contacts with feminists in Russia?
Some, yes. But at the same time, Russia has Russian feminists have very complicated situation. now even the worse. Because even if the fight against Putin and against dictatorship too, for many people it's some kind of like they're from Russia, and sometimes it's not easy. And sometimes they have the same trend like self-isolation, etc. Now, even the worse, because, you know, some very famous social networks are closed in Russia, so it should be much more hard to connect with them. But yes, I participated even in some kind of seminars together with Russian feminists, and so yeah, they're very brave. They're very brave too, and by my opinion, they need very huge support now, because inside Russia, and for them, even for us, it's hard to leave Belarus now, but for them, it's much more complicated.
Okay,
but I would like to add something.
Yes.
Maybe some kind of horrible story again, but do you know that the first political prisoner is a wife of Lukashenko? It's very typical, again, for such kind of patriarchal dictatorship. But when Lukashenko was elected at 1994, his wife, by my opinion, very intelligent and very clever woman, but from village, of course, and Lukashenko, he's from village too. Lukashenko said publicly that she's too ugly, too old for him, and he needs some kind of more modern girls around. And so he builds a house for her, and she has bodyguards, and during 25 years, for her, it's not allowed to leave the house. So, of course, she's not hungry, by my opinion, and maybe she has everything in the house, but she has to sit there without the possibility to go out. And by my opinion, she is the same political prisoner, maybe, of course, not without without torture and any problems with medicine, but at any way, 25 years. And actually, she was the chief of his staff during the presidential campaign. And it was the response of Lukashenko for her impact to his victory. So she won and forgot everything. And it's so typical for such kind of patriarchal men. And I always think about Galina Lukashenko and think about, you know, like 25 years, you're sitting in one home without possibility to go out, only because you decided to help your husband becoming a president. But we will fight the next president, and our women will take the full control for such kind of situations and to change the situations. It's something unbelievable.
Do you want to add anything else?
And thank you for your attention. I try to explain this kind of cases deeply because I understand that the context is different, and sometimes it's not easy to understand. But I hope that my English should not break my triumphs.
I have the last question here. Do you see the men changing as well?
Yes, of course, and why I think so, because from the result of our campaign, no means no, because before I strongly believe that before the revolution 2020, we should have much more men participated in the war in Ukraine. Even in 2014, in the war in Donbass, we had many Belarusian men participated in the war. Now Belarusian men say no. So much more peaceful, much more anti-military, and much more feministic. And because even we had funny situation in the Belarusian diaspora in Czech Republic. One, by my opinion, stupid man, he wrote the requirements to his future wife, and he is looking for the wife in the Belarusian diaspora in Czech Republic, because he's Belarusian man in Czech Republic. And he said, "Oh, this is about 35, no more for 35 years old, brunette, you know, no children, blah blah blah." It's some kind of requirements like to the horse. And it was unbelievable virus post, because it was thousands of angry comments from Belarusian women who reacts, and before it was, believe me, it was no reaction at all, and so people thought that it should be normal. But now it was many angry reaction of the Belarusian women, but at the same time, I was very happy. I read the comments. For me, it was very interesting how women react for such kind of situation. But many comments of men who supported such kind of women's voice and say, no, you cannot choose your wife like a horse. So I was very happy about. So the society is changing, but we should push the changes much faster. I cannot wait. I'm not a very patient person, and so I would like to have changes quickly. So I would like to do it much faster.
Thank you. Really, it was fantastic to have you here and all these insights and comments. And I'm sure we will come back and we will take your ideas how we continue this support of Belarusian women and women in all Eastern Europe to this situation. So thank you very much, Olga. I don't know if Gea, do you want to say something?
Yes, well, I can say very briefly something. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all, Olga. I would like to maybe echo the word of Claudia. You're so brave, and you really are very admirable for feminists around Europe and elsewhere, for your courage, but also your clarity in how well you can present your, the experiences and your analysis. That's much appreciated. And also from our side, from the network, we are very keen to collaborate with you and your organization. Of course, we are also struggling as many feminists with capacities, but we are, very determined to do that in our time. And I hope with this webinar that we can also take it to, for example, European politicians and maybe some national politicians, because I think that is also where some of the strength of White Plus lies, to mobilize other feminists and really our politicians to listen and to take action. So really, thank you so much. And it was very insightful. And yeah, it's really amazing to hear you speak. Thank you.
So thank you. And as everybody knows, we have another webinar with other Belarusian women tomorrow. So this is to continue tomorrow. Oh, thank you for attending this.
Yeah, and thank you. Sorry for my dog. He's noisy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.